If you want to be able to buy the most expensive players and open the best packs in FC24, go to u7buy.com to buy your EA FC24 coins. It's cheaper than buying FC points and just as reliable. With their already amazing prices, you can get an extra 6% using promo code Inception at checkout. Hey guys, so I'm going to see if I have enough time to basically give my quick thoughts on how I think that UFL is as a video game. So just food for thought. I watched 5 or 6 hours of it the day before it came out, and then I played 4 to 5 hours of it the day it came out, right? So just letting you know. First and foremost, the first thing that I got to mention is how the game looks visually when you are just playing it normally from a distance, right? In my opinion, I think the game looks perfectly fine. I've seen some people complaining about the graphics, this and that. I think you guys are being a little bit too serious when it comes to how it looks graphically, because I think it looks fine. Honestly, I did try out eFootball 2 or 3 years ago, and visually from a distance, I don't like how the game looks. I think it looks really old. I don't think it looks modern. This is a Twitter video, so this is not a good example of how the game actually looks, because the bitrate on Twitter for videos is horrible. But this sort of, the way that everything looks here is fine. It really is. From a distance, that was not a problem for me whatsoever. That didn't really bother my mentality playing the game whatsoever on a personal level, right? So visually, I think it actually impressed me. I thought it was going to look worse. I really did. I thought it was going to look significantly worse, and it just doesn't. Okay, so that's the first and most important thing that we have to mention from a visual standpoint, right? So let's talk about the gameplay mechanics. So long story short, is the game like a competent game against FC24? In my opinion, it's not there yet, right? The thing about FC24 is that the reason why a lot of people dislike it is because EA tends to keep the garbage in the game that allows the brainless, headless chickens to be able to play the game, right? Stuff like direct passing should be removed from the game. Stuff like the step over acceleration should be removed from the game. These are the types of things that will make you feel robotic and will kind of tire you out and make the game feel very garbage, right? But if you guys, actually use tactics that are authentic and you can actually get some good breakdowns with it. For instance, if you guys watched the 4-4-2 tactic that we reviewed the other day from Kevin, right? Be sure to check out his original tweet from it. These custom tactics actually shows you and represents how good attacking AI can actually be in this game. The reason why attacking AI in a general sense is garbage in this game is because the most effective tactic to use in the game is this constant push up against defenders and track back. Always. That playstyle is complete garbage, and that is the playstyle that people are going to be comparing FC to UFL with, right? But if you guys have ever played a custom tactic like this with this 4-4-2, or earlier in the year we had like a 4-1-3-2 that had that authentic attacking AI and stuff too, that's the potential that the game actually has in comparison, right? So it's very important to mention those sort of things, because from a general gameplay perspective, right, there are things that UFL needs to work a lot on, and then there's certain things that I think that whoever added these specific mechanics, they're actually people that use their brain cells instead of EA just never doing it in its entirety, right? One of the mechanics that I like a lot in UFL is the tackling for the most part, because I have to say for the most part, because I still didn't have the top tier defenders, but they were still if I'm manually using a defender and I am 1-to-1 against the attacker and I do a tackle animation, they have animations of you transitioning forward and the other player either going to the left side or the right side more often than not. Not 100% of the time, but more often than not. The tackle animation, it's so mind-blowing to me how many times you could do a rant on FC or FIFA and you just talk about how if you make your tackles possession-based, it would just alleviate a lot of stress in a person's mind. And when I was playing UFL, there's moments where there's a moment of frustration, but then there's a moment of feeling rewarded because of the manual defending 1-to-1 head-to-head against somebody. You get rewarded for it. And every single time I would have something that stresses me out, it would just go down right away because I felt like I was able to get the ball back in those certain situations, right? So that I felt like was a really big deal. Some people will have inconsistent moments with the tackling, mostly because of either like connection, right? Like if you're from certain parts of the world, I think you're going to have more problems than others, to be honest. Like I think most of the times if you're from North America or Europe, you're going to have like a pretty basic connection to the servers, especially if they're like very similar to how FC does it or how EA does it. But yeah, the tackling, I was very impressed with. Another mechanic that is so clear and obvious in game is when you have the cursor on a person's head, and you guys know I've talked about this in rant videos all the time. This is people using their brain cells, okay? When you have the cursor on a person's head and you are trying to go for an interception, you actually get rewarded for it because they actually have a mechanic in the game where it almost feels like if you're controlling that player, it's almost like you have a circle magnet, right, around your player. And when your cursor is on the player, especially, and they make that pass, more often than not, because there are moments where it goes right through them. I will say there are moments it goes right through them, but I can feel the magnet around my player to be able to intercept an opportunity that I am clearly reading, because if he can see my cursor and I can see his, that's how it should be, right? Because you are making a pass that doesn't make sense and I'm reading it easily and you're still getting rewarded for it. That's idiotic. And in UFL, those two mechanics, I'm telling you, man, it just relieves so much stress when you are defending, because defending feels rewarded in those sort of situations, okay? There was also another thing that I liked as well, and I can't remember it for the life of me, for the game mechanics. Yeah, for the game mechanics, I think like those are the two main ones that oh, the third one. So this one, you can't judge fully yet because I know they're going to adjust this, right? The direction of what they want to do with manual challenges and interceptions, the direction, not what it is right now, because it's a beta. It's not finished. It's not polished. There's a lot of work that needs to be done in the game, right? But from the direction of where they want to go with those two mechanics, I like it. The third one is trying to make the game not heavily reliant on passes that are not obvious breakaways for you to utilize the dash button, okay? People are complaining about the dash button. I'm going to tell you guys this right now. If they get it to a point where even EA got it for FIFA 22 before they did the change to quote-unquote dribbling for controlled and explosive players, where the only types of pass that actually works out on a very consistent level is an obvious through pass, or you have to use a lengthy during that time period, right? That's the best balance. I don't like a game where someone is parking the bus the entire game and they do one through pass, go through on goal, and score an easy opportunity that was easily read, right? But they just had like, they did one pass where the game assisted the direction of the pass, and all they have to do is just run in and shoot. It's cringe. It's a garbage way of playing, because that sort of play style for a football simulator is brainless, right? And I think that EA is going to keep that in the game. I don't think they're going to really change that. But for me, I always felt like pace has to be relevant, but for obvious passing opportunities. In FIFA, it doesn't even have to be obvious. Like if someone does one touch against your defender, especially because they did that jockey change to manually defending, because manual defending in FIFA is cooked, right? Because they did that jockey change, a guy does like one touch against you if you're not using full meta tactics. Very key thing to mention here, right? If you're not using full meta tactics, which is defensive and super defensive AI oriented, your player does one drag animation and the guy's through on goal. It's the easiest goal. I hate those with a passion. And it seems like, again, hard to judge with UFL because it's the direction. You can't judge what it is right now, because what it is right now will still be polished on the full release, okay? I can't judge these guys like I do with EA. With EA, guys, you guys need to understand the reason why I'm so hard on them is because it's been 10 years plus of being moronic, okay? With UFL, brand new game, brand new mechanics, but you have to see the direction of what they want to do, right? So the R trigger thing of the running, trying to eliminate a brainless way of playing from a forced through ball or pass is really nice for me, in my opinion, right? Because if I was doing forced passes that were not clear and obvious, I didn't get rewarded for it. But if I did one that was a little bit more clear and obvious, I would have a better chance. Is it a little bit too crazy right now? It is. 100% it is. That's why I think that they're still going to be doing adjustments, and I want to see what direction they head towards when they make those adjustments. But the direction of trying to make people not score those opportunities, in my opinion, is fantastic, okay? Because you have to create a very obvious through ball that is a deserved breakaway instead of a forced breakaway, okay? People do so many forced situations and FC and get rewarded for it that it makes the game completely trash, especially if you're reading it properly. Like I said, I can feel the consistent magnet most of the times on my player when I'm manually using him, and I think that's fantastic. I have it. It's like I could feel like a circle around my player, and he just receives possession of the ball. Those two mechanics, bro, if you were to add into FC, those two specifically on a consistent basis, if you were to add it to FC, your game would already feel better. With FC, they would have to revert that most recent gameplay patch where they adjusted the dribbling and the jockey. Whoever did that, you're moronic. If that was a group effort, you're equally moronic, all of you all together. Because that was the worst patch I've ever seen in my entire life, 100%. I'm not trying to be rude, but when you see 10 plus years of being stupid, it's a little bit different, right? If it's 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, like I was initially, you guys can watch my old videos. I was more constructive for FIFA 14, 15. Okay, right? That's why I'm being more constructive for UFL. So those three things I liked a lot. Now, there are certain things directions-wise where I'm personally not a fan of, but this is probably where they want their direction of the game to go. So if you guys have ever played eFootball or you've ever played FC, we obviously the responsiveness of these games is completely cooked, 100%, right? But both games have two different playstyles. One game, when you are doing stuff in the moment, it's based off of FC, right? So you receive possession of the ball, you don't have to think in advance to do a through pass or to do a first time pass or do a first time shot. You don't have to think in advance. You have to do it in the moment, or in certain situations it would be advanced, but I think you guys get what I'm saying, right? The one problem that I have with eFootball when I tried it, right, is that the way you have to play that game is in advanced. If I'm doing a 1-2 play, I have to do the 1-2 play in advance and not in the moment. There's so many situations where when I would do the 1-2 play or do the shot in the moment or in the advanced situation, by the time I get to the part of having to do the advance, I no longer want to do that anymore. And that's something that in FIFA is not the case on a specific level, because we know the game's unresponsive, right? But the direction of FC is more based off of doing stuff in the moment, right? If I'm doing a 1-2 pass and the moment just before I receive the ball, it makes sense to do it, then I can do that. You know what I'm saying? But in these games like UFL and stuff, the key word here is going to be responsiveness, because I've seen some streamers saying the game is responsive, and then I've seen some people saying that it's not. In my opinion, I don't think the game is responsive in the sense of me wanting to do stuff the moment it happens, right? So in my opinion, I don't think the game is like incredibly responsive in that sense, right? The switching in the game when it comes to defending, actually, I think the switching, honestly, is at like a 60%, 65%, 70% capacity. Because honestly, like when I was right stick switching, the right stick switching was actually not that bad, right? It actually felt somewhat responsive when you were doing it too, which I think is a really, really big deal, is having that responsiveness of being able to do it. The reason why I'm saying like 60, 65% is that there still feels to be like an inconsistency with it, right? If you guys have ever watched what I think like basically close to 100% switching consistency is, it's that one podcast that I did with Kurt. Go through the video. I've shown you guys this multiple times in the rant videos, where you will go to specifically that one spot where I showcase the switching and the offline experience of, I think it was FIFA 18 during that time period, and just to show you how good the switching was from just doing basic L1 and right stick switching, right? That's where I think it's close to 100%, which is absolutely insane to me that we're progressing in the years of FIFA and the switching gets worse. The fact that we had it in that game for the offline, not the online, because the online's always been horrible, to be fair, right? Because the inconsistent gameplay and all that kind of stuff. But in the offline, you could see that it exists. A good switching mechanic exists. All this new stuff that they add into the game, it wouldn't be relevant if the switching was always consistent. That way, everybody would use that switching because it works perfectly fine, right? So with UFL, on the right stick switching, I felt like the direction wise, it's actually heading towards a good direction. So hopefully they polish that a little bit more to kind of fix that quite a bit, right? Attacking plays. So you can't judge too much on the attacking AI in the game because there are so many features, like traits that you add on the cards, skins that make them the traits is like the biggest thing, honestly. Like if you want to go for like a finesse shot or passing or whatever it is, right? It's the traits that you add to cards that makes the way that your players play a little bit different, right? I will say that when I initially used the custom tactics, I didn't feel anything too special when I was using like a 4-3-3 or 4-2-3-1. So I did have to switch to a 3-back formation, like a 3-5-2. And that's when I was personally enjoying the attack a little bit more, right? The direction of the game and where it heads towards when it comes to passing, attacking AI, again, needs a lot of polishing for sure. But there are so many situations that I can count, right? Because there's a lot of unresponsiveness with it when it comes to the passing as well. But the things that I liked a lot was being able, like there's so many attacking plays where you pass the ball to your striker, your secondary striker, and then you are able to pass the ball back and then a first time through ball or a first time pass into people, because the timing of how they make that specific run is done really well when you have certain players. Because guys, to be honest with you, it does make a big difference to have like the really good cards, right? Like for me, when I was playing the game, I got to a point where I was using like a lot of 79s and stuff, right? So that's the testing that I was doing, right? But I think if you go to like Nick's stream, for instance, he has like Dembele, Alexander-Arnold, like he has like all the players because I think they gave him the currency in the game. So he's going to have like the higher rated cards to truly test out what the game is like on a higher level. But I think it's always important to test it out on different levels to see what it is. So does it make a difference to have the higher tier players for a little bit more responsiveness, better animations on the defense and all that kind of stuff? Absolutely. That's always going to be like the case with most of these games, right? So I'm trying to see if I can remember everything. The shooting 100% needs work. There's like an inconsistency to it for sure. Finesse shots are really weird. There's moments where it's like you're taking direct touches, facing direct angles, and then the finesse shot comes off very flimsy. It's like very, very like soft, and like it's like they're tapping it in a way where it's like there's no like real venom behind it. And then there's moments where it's like if your player does like a poor dribbling animation or he's like off balance, those end up working better than you being more direct with the finesse shot, which is just so strange to me. Like the finishing, I feel like definitely needs work. There's a lot of situations where you have high tier cards like Lionel Messi and stuff, and I think Nick said that there wasn't time finishing in the game, which is a very big variable to consider when it comes to the finishing, because if a person works a high percentage strike and your game does not have time finishing, most of the times those should be goal scoring opportunities. Like if Messi is on his left foot and he's like, this is the 18-yard box, but Messi is here and his angle is like that towards the goal, it should be a goal like every single time, especially since you do not have time finishing and especially since you have manual goalkeeping. A lot of times with the finesse shot especially, they literally like curl just on the outside of the post and then out. Like that happens a lot. I've seen that animation specifically happen quite a bit. But power strikes, for the most part, they do come off pretty decently, right? Like if you guys ever use like Ronaldo or Correa and you did the power strikes, for the most part they were still pretty decent to work with. I didn't really find them to be that big of an issue to work with. So yeah, as I'm mentioning earlier, the direction of what they want to do with attacking AI, you could see it in some cases, right? It's hard to fully judge because again, you have to do way more testing with different formations, different tactics, different instructions. It's very important to mention all that stuff. But from what I was seeing, like what they want players to do in certain situations, it does come off decently, but it needs to be polished way more. Because I'll tell you this right now, guys, that if you actually use the authentic attacking AI formations and custom tactics in FC, like this 4-4-2, I wouldn't even necessarily say this 4-2-2, but this 4-4-2 specifically from Kevin is one of my favorite formations to use because it will give me that movement. The only reason why people will not use that formation on a consistent level, if you guys check which tactics always do the best, it's always the pro player ones, because people want to play like rats. We got to be completely honest, right? But these ones here, the reason why people don't use these sort of tactics because you don't have enough midfield congestion against the direct passing. That's why I'm like a really like big not believer, but absolute cold hard facts that direct passing should be removed. But it wouldn't completely change the specific playstyle, but it would help quite a bit, right? That and step over acceleration, man. Not dealing with step over acceleration while playing UFL was a breath of fresh air, because that's the stupidest thing I've ever seen in my life, right? The game definitely has a responsiveness issue, I would say. I would say that from a perspective of doing skill moves or doing dribbles, like things kind of happen afterwards, right? And for me, I really prefer to play a game that feels more one-to-one with you holding the controller and how the game feels, right? There definitely feels like an unresponsive thing to the game with how it generally plays out. But as I mentioned earlier, the attacking AI part and the way that you attack in a general sense and how the pitch feels more open to play against is really nice. It's not just like a complete congestion on a consistent basis all the time, right? There's moments where you face people that are definitely EAFC rats where they actually set up their custom tactics to be super defensive. I face them sometimes during the UFL gameplay and stuff, and you could definitely tell they were doing it sometimes, right? But I'm telling you guys that the direction of what they want to do with it is pretty decent. It's not like completely horrible by any means. But yeah, skill moves, like there was a lot of moments where I would do a skill move with the right stick, or I would do a specific one which are very similar to FIFA that they just wouldn't do. But like the one-to-one control for it, it just feels very late, right? It definitely feels very late. And again, sometimes the skill moves just don't pop off in general. That's what I'm trying to tell you guys, that like in comparison to FC, it's not ready to compete, right? There's a lot of things that, again, the direction of where the game wants to go is really good, but they need to be polished like crazy on some of these game mechanics, right? Shooting, I'm very curious to see what they do with as the game progresses, because like I said, the power shots in certain situations is pretty decent, but the finesse shots when you get inside is like really strange. I do like that they actually have individual animations for someone chipping the ball and the way that the goalkeeper reacts. It's not like super consistent. There's a few things that are a little bit off, but yeah, that's definitely a really big thing. One of the other main things that I want to mention as well is actually the through passes. So the through passes is actually one of the most relevant ways of playing the game. It's actually that, and specifically for the finesse shots. The finesse shots from clear and obvious ones, those ones are very inconsistent. But the ones where you're doing like honestly, I would call it the FIFA rap mechanic stuff. But like in the game, it's like if you do like a ball roll but before the finesse, like they do it better. You know what I'm saying? Like if you're just on the edge of the 18-yard box, like not inside, but just on the edge on the outside, people like that understand the players that they have. Like if they have like Lionel Messi or they have anybody that can hit finesse shots, right? They will consistently go for those over building a play inside the 18-yard box because they seem very consistent, more so than actually building up a play in certain situations, right? So like I said, when I'm talking about the finesse shots, it's more the inconsistency of it, of taking certain direct touches and your player is not really emphasizing anything, and then they just take like the worst types of strikes. Like that definitely happens from time to time in that game, 100%. And like I said, I've noticed that when people were playing the game and they got used to it, they were doing like a lot of long range finesses. Like I'm telling you, it's 18-yard box. This is the line, and it's just like just before the 18-yard box that they would try to do them on a consistent basis, right? I'm trying to see if I forget anything else. Oh, the menus. I'm sorry to tell you guys, bro, but the menus, like, they're just so much better than eFootball, right? Like, it's so self-explanatory. It doesn't take a long time to get used to. The game itself is very self-explanatory with how they want you to build your team, the way that skins work in the game for you to open those specific packs. It's very, like, it does not take a long time to get used to the game. It really doesn't. And I think that the UI, in a general sense, is really nice in my opinion. It's very basic, and you can just get to things really quickly. At some point in the future, they can maybe make it, like, more advanced, because, to be honest, I actually like this UI system from EA, and I like it even more so because you can do this and go to the specific things. That's why we meme about the L trigger guy, the L2 guy over here in the community, because this is the guy that actually uses his brain cells for all of this stuff, because it's just, everything is so convenient, right? Squad, boom, you go to squad, you're in there, right? Like, FIFA has like a really good pull when it comes to like the menu stuff, right? So at some point in the future, maybe they can make that a little bit more advanced to work with. But for me, the whole thing is always actually being in the game and playing it. That's the most important part, right? But the UI of the game, in my opinion, is just more impressive than Konami, because Konami has this habit, right, especially for a football game, of just not improving the way that their menus are in a general sense. Because the way that they format their menus is as if we're playing Metal Gear Solid and I'm playing the gameplay more than I'm being in the menus. Like, in these types of games, guys, you are spending a lot of times in the menus to be able to grind out your team and get specific cards. Like, for me, because I was trying out the beta, I didn't want to be in the menus that much. You kind of had to be able to build your team. But because it's a beta, I just want to get like 79 rated cards, 80 rated cards, and just play the game right away. I don't want to have to deal with all of that on a pretty consistent basis, right? So that's why I wanted to kind of test out the game as much as possible in that sense, right? So like I said, when I was playing like 4-2-3-1, 4-3-3, like they felt really boring. Again, this is not me doing specific tactic adjustments or specific instructions or having the specific players. I'm just letting you know that when I switched to a 3-5-2, it was just more fun to play with, even if it was easier for people to attack against, because I want to have more attacking AI. And when I was playing the game, I just felt it right away. I felt like I wanted that cam. I felt like I wanted the left mid and the right mid, but then I also felt like I wanted the strikers. So that's why the 3-5-2, or I don't know if the 3-4-2-1 or 3-4-1-2 exists in that game, but even that would work out for how the game generally plays. Very important for UFL to format the way that commands work for skill moves the same as FIFA for people to be able to transfer over easily. eFootball has a thing where, I don't know if they have adjusted this recently, but they had to make the commands the same, or they have to allow you to do custom commands as well, where if I pick a specific skill move and you are demonstrating the skill move like they show in UFL, because in UFL they actually show you what the skill move looks like, it would be nice if you can at least customize how you want the skill move to work, right? In UFL you don't have to, because they're all from FIFA and people are mostly used to FIFA. But it'd be nice if, I don't know, in eFootball for instance, if I can just say, hey, I want my roulette to be that, and then the game would register what they think you want to do, and then you would just add that as a skill move, right? And I think that not doing that will push people away from trying your game, because they're not going to be willing to try out the new skill moves in your game and how it generally works if it's not the same. And in UFL, them making it the same, in my opinion, was a good decision for people to transfer over more easily, right? But in my opinion, you can't really utilize the skill moves that much, because it just feels unresponsive. Like, I like to do a command, just as an example, right? Like if I were to go to FC, right? And I go to, I don't even know where this thing is here, actually. Where is it again? Player career, Klaus, Volta, football, kickoff, learn to play? Practice arena. If I'm doing a roulette, it's an in-the-moment roulette. You guys get what I'm saying? What? Yo, exit this. I don't even know what the heck I'm doing. Sorry, I don't even know how this works. I remember doing this at one point, and now I don't remember. Practice match. Okay, there you go. So what I'm talking about is the one-to-one command, right? So the moment I get the ball here with Ronaldo and I'm doing the command, he's doing it. You know what I'm saying? But in UFL right now, it almost feels like it's like eFootball. Like it's being done afterwards, right? So you know, for me, very important to mention that as well in regards to that sort of thing as well. What else is there? Like, if I could think of, yeah, through passes are very effective. Like a lot of the attacking AI in the game, a lot of through passes that are actually nice to work with in UFL, because some of them are really overpowered and it's a little bit weird. But the through passes, the way that they actually want you to attack is more based off of through passes, whether that more than it is like, come approach me and I'll give you the ball type of attacking AI. You know what I'm saying? Like the base attacking AI for your side position players, like they actually want you to do a through pass more than it is like a, hey, come close to me so I can pass the ball to you type of deal, right? Another thing that I think UFL should add, I don't know if I didn't really look into the settings too much about this. Maybe it's in the game and I just didn't notice it, but they definitely need to add a cancel feature. Not in the rat ways with the skill moves and stuff. I don't care about that, right? But canceling for passes and shots more specifically, that I think should be a thing, right? Those two mechanics specifically, like there's a lot of moments where, you know, if I want to like pass the ball, like pass and then I cancel it, like I need to be able to do that as a last second resort, right? Like I just think that that needs to be a thing as well for you to like make like proper last second decision types of, you know, decisions in those moments, right? So yeah, that would be really cool if that was added. Also, I also didn't look into this setting as much, so maybe it was in the game and I didn't see it, but FIFA has a thing that they added this year, which I think is how it's supposed to be. You give the person the option of doing a late pass or an early pass. So an early pass, again, is, I think that's what, so here's the problem, right? I think that in eFootball, their passing is set up on early pass, but it might not give me the option specifically to have late pass, right? Because this game has late pass where it's like, if I'm aiming the pass to the top left, but then in the last second I'm looking to the right, for the most part, because you guys know this game is an unresponsive piece of garbage a lot of the times, right? But for the most part, like from base mechanics, you can see I can actually do that because it gives me the option of having that late passer receiver. So I think something like that in UFL would definitely be a big deal. And honestly, it would probably eliminate the unresponsive thing or the do stuff in advance thing that I was talking about earlier, right? But I don't think it would, because it definitely has that like e-football feel of me having to do stuff in advance, and I don't like the advanced stuff. I like when I'm doing stuff like in the moment as much as possible, right? Trying to think of like other stuff as well. There's definitely like a really big unresponsive problem with the passing sensitivity as well. The passing sensitivity, there's moments where I would do like, for instance, if someone is making like a specific run and I do like a tap pass, like it registers a tap pass, right? But then there's moments where it's like I do a tap pass and it'll literally go to the guy at the bottom with power. Like there's definitely like a sensitivity problem when it comes to that specifically. Also, another thing I will say is that the shooting, and I'm not, this is specific to your game. If you want to keep it this way, this is entirely up to you. But the shooting feels more like semi than it does assisted. Like it does feel assisted, but it has like a, it's, if I were to put like assisted and semi, it'd be like right here, like in the middle. It feels more like that than it does like fully assisted, if that makes sense, for like the shooting and stuff, right? Passing accuracy is definitely wrong sometimes, but I think that's like a passing sensitivity issue where it's like, oh, I do like a small little pass here and he just blasts it to the guy across there as well. So again, that's stuff that like you could tell that's to be polished, you know what I'm saying? Like I can't really like fully blame it for that. Like hopefully it is fully polished when it comes out for that sort of deal. But yeah, I'm trying to think of like some other things as well. I can't think of like too many things like at the top of my head as of right now, but that's my initial thoughts, right? Like with the game right now, as I was watching it and now as I was playing it myself, I really liked the direction with some of the core mechanics of what they want to do, but it definitely is like, it's stupid to say this because it's a brand new game and it's in an open stage beta. And I just don't think it's the same as like FIFA. When FIFA says it's a beta, it's like you shouldn't even try it because the direction doesn't even matter because they'll change the direction entirely, right? But for UFL, I like the direction of where they were going with certain things, right? With the way that the game like generally played out, the direction of them wanting you to be rewarded defensively when you're manually using cards, especially attacking AI in certain situations where you can clearly see how you can make a pass before to make a pass after. Stuff like that. Is it the type of game as of right now in its current state to compete with FC? No. If you actually play this game in the authentic ways and you use these sort of formations, this game actually shows you that it has potential under the right circumstances. But what's the key things? They never fix inconsistent gameplay, which is the biggest problem with the game. And they keep garbage in the game like direct passing, step over acceleration to allow people to play like absolute morons, right? That's like the main issue. Well, there's a lot of main issues with this game, responsiveness being one of the biggest things. But yeah, so far out of all the football games that I have played, I'll give you guys like the best example. Like if you gave me FIFA 15, the best version of gameplay in FIFA 15, like nothing would really be able to compete with that, right? And honestly, even the new FIFA games, nothing would be able to compete with it if you consistently got it at that level. But the problem is that percentage of getting that gameplay is so astronomically low. That's why we need competition. We need the competition with UFL. We need the competition with 2K because they will never fix this issue because they're a bunch of incompetent losers, right? And I gotta be the guy to say it. I'm harsh because it's been so many years. In the first 3 or 4 years, I was more constructive about it, but that's what makes it so bad. But as of right now, guys, for UFL, it needs to be polished in many, many areas for it to compete with EA. But there's a lot of potential with the game in the direction of certain base mechanics. That's all I can really say. So hopefully you guys enjoy this video today. I'm sorry if I did a lot of yapping for this one. I don't want to do too much yapping, but that's just initial thoughts because there's a lot of stuff that you would still have to test out on a pretty consistent level. But there was a certain point where once we actually like build our club, we were doing really well. Like I don't know if I'll be able to show the record here because at the end I was losing more because honestly I lost my head a little bit, not because of the game but because there was like banging going upstairs and I had to stop it, and it just ruined the mood for me at the end of the stream, right? But you'll see at some point, I think it's some point here where I'm showing the record. Yeah, see right here. So when you hit a certain point where you actually like build your team and have like the 78s and 79s, like you can do a little bit of work in the game, you know, like the 3-0 that happens here. The reason why I left that game is because by accident, when I was looking at the chat, because you can select your kits, I chose 2 white kits. So I literally could not tell a difference. Like it was the exact same kit. I couldn't tell a difference in the team. So I was like, I'm just gonna leave this game, right? But you do get to a point, especially when you start improving your players, well, you'll notice more of a difference and you'll enjoy it a little bit more, 100%. Because when I was saying it on a consistent basis when the stream first started, like they cannot give me these garbage cards for me to test out the game. But to build your team in the beta, it doesn't really take that long of a time, honestly. If you do all the right stuff with the season pass and all that kind of stuff in the game, you can get your cards. I would say, like, give it like 20 games, 25 games, you'll get a decent enough team to be able to try out the game. You know what I'm saying? With the 78, 79 rated cards. And then obviously when you get to a point of really grinding out the game, you can get the higher rated cards that are going to be significantly better to use in the game, 100%, right? So yeah, a lot of potential to work with. We'll see where they head towards with it, and we'll go from there, right? We'll see what the game will be like on the full release. It definitely needs a lot of polish, but like I said, I like the direction of a lot of the core mechanics and what they want to do and how they want to force you to attack and defend in certain situations, right? The direction of it is the right direction, in my opinion, but we'll see what they end up doing with the polishing for certain mechanics. There is one more thing that I do need to mention, though. There is one more thing, and again, this is I can't fully speak on this because I didn't have like the absolute like full meta defenders or anything like that, right? But there's one more thing, right? And that one more thing is there was too many goals that I conceded where the tackling, like in certain situations when you're switching them and then having to tackle afterwards against the attacker, there was a lot of like boom, 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 and then the attacker would get the ball and just shoot, and he would score easily. Like that happened a lot. I think I conceded honestly like 8 opportunities that way, like that, like boom, 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 boom. It can't happen. Like the first engagement, I would say max second engagement, something needs to come from it. Like if I made a defensive mistake in the ball and he gets the ball back, then fair play. But a lot of times I would defend properly and it's just boom, 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 and then the attacker gets the ball and then scores. It was really, I even scored I think 2 or 3 opportunities that way as well. So that was like really cringy. So that they definitely need to look into as well, I would say. Can I just keep it like completely real with you guys? Just like me to you, just being 100% straight up. Let's just really just say what needs to be said here, okay? We wouldn't need to even be talking about what another game needs to do if EA actually fixed the problems in their game. Because EA have a more polished product than the rest of these guys. But they just don't adjust the garbage in their game. You know what I'm saying? Did you hear the 3 core things that I mentioned to you that I liked about UFL? You know that if you adjust those 3 core things, it changes your game entirely, right? The fact that I'm even like talking about this is like, it's just frustrating for me because of trying to like really just drill it in like, hey, if you just did this, like things would be much better, right? Like imagine we lived in a theoretical world where we wouldn't have to rely on another company to make a competent video game in the sense of, you know, the 3 main things that I talked about just in a general sense, right? Like magnetization of interceptions when I'm controlling certain people, tackling being rewarded when I'm using the defenders and getting full possession of it with reactions of me going forward, them going forward, and I get possession, right? Because you avoid so much frustration and garbage in your game, right? And then in my opinion, 3, like we're talking about main things without adjusting certain things that would still make your game better, right? Obviously the big one, inconsistent gameplay. I did reviews today and I actually enjoyed myself because the gameplay was actually playable, which is very surprising on a Friday. Maybe there's not as many people on the game. I don't know. Maybe people are trying out UFL. I don't know what it is. It's not just server things. I don't know, guys. Honestly, I don't know. It's been so many years of me trying to figure out different things. I don't know. If someone tells me it's like the engine again, I'll freak out, okay? But inconsistent gameplay, if that was fixed, you already eliminate such a huge amount of problems in your game. And then if you were to eliminate direct passing, if you were to eliminate this step over, so like these things that just make the game stupid, if you were to eliminate these things, it would make your game so much better. It really would. Inconsistent gameplay being fixed is the biggest one, but like even the stuff that I was talking about with you guys about the manual defending stuff, like manually intercepting opportunities because the game understands magnetization, right? Or, you know, you do a tackle and you get rewarded. Like, can I just show you guys an example? And I roasted in this video. I do roast it in this video because I have to mention it. Can I just show you guys an example of a guy that I faced? Just really quickly, right? Just really quickly before we dip. So Muller review. was not here. It was like here. Here it is. Okay. Can I just show you guys this really quickly? Okay. I'll just put this on the full screen so that you guys can just see this real quick. Okay. So you guys can see this, right? Yeah, you can see this because this is me making the movie video. But can I just show you this quick? Look. So this guy, and maybe you hear the commentating part, right? Maybe. But can I just show you an example? Okay. So in UFL, this is what I'm trying to say. Like, if you fix these problems in FC, we wouldn't even be talking about UFL. Let's be completely real. But we have to rely on other games because you guys, like, for years, 10 plus years, you just refuse to fix, like, very obvious things in your game. It's just so annoying. It's like you don't. It's like you don't play the game yourself. You know. This is an example. That's a possession-based tackle, and it's mine. A lot of the times in UFL, that's my ball. You just went into me. And I tackled you, and the ball should be mine. The ball ends up not being mine, right? Bunch of garbage there. Goes for a cutback. And to be fair, if I play this game more consistently, like on all the time, at this point I would have gotten used to like using this trash manual goalkeeping inside the 18-yard box for this game, for how this game is formatted, right? Maybe I would have used manual goalkeeping and blocked out the opportunity anyways, right? But he scores that opportunity. And you have now just created a frustrating moment because it's a moment that should never have happened. And then you think back, oh, this shouldn't have happened anyways because of this one specific spot, which does still happen in UFL. I'm not saying that it doesn't, but I'm saying that the direction of what they're trying to do to fix that specific area is the right direction, right? Because this, like, that should never happen. You're going into me, the ball should be mine. I don't know why this is such a hard, difficult concept to understand, right? And then what happens in the next one, right? I just did this review today for Muller. I just did it today, okay? And it's to talk about the main problems of what that UFL basically, in a sense, fixes, or the direction of what they want to do is better, right? Because look at this one now, right? Look at this one now. So what did I tell you guys about magnetization of interception when the person passes me the ball, right? That's normal. Normal, I overcommit. Why is that working? Why do we still play a game where it drags off of his foot like that? Do you guys get what I'm saying? Like, this is why, for me, it's just frustrating because, like, the three core things that I'm talking about in UFL, like, if you just fix them in FC, and then you actually make adjustments to the stuff that if people are over abusing certain things, EA, you need to be quick to act to nerf them to the ground, because it's just, it doesn't take a lot of brain cells to understand that these are stupid mechanics and only rats like them. Okay, but this stuff right here, this is what I'm talking about. Like, this is the magnetization of the interception. I'm blocking this guy. Why does he deserve to get this ball? Why? FIFA is like a predatory game in this sense, right? Where it's like, what is the reason for me to not receive this in possession? Like, you can fix this. You just choose not to. I can feel more consistent magnetization of that general circle area when I'm controlling a player in UFL, but your game, for some reason, you just don't want to reward me here. And it's frustrating because, like, boom, right? Touches the ball, scores the opportunity from a cutback again, right? And it's like, dude, like, it's all avoidable. And the thing is that I always say this in FC. It's like, these are like valueless goals. This is how I explain it, because a person can score those two valueless goals and then park the bus and waste time the rest of the game because they're willing to do that, right? It's just cringe. So that's what I'm saying. Like, these problems that I'm talking about, like, if they were adjusted in FC, we wouldn't even be talking about these new football games, because FC's content in their menus, I don't know how any other company is going to compete against that. Even this year, where the content is not as good as previous years in regards to consistency, because there's some weeks where they release complete garbage, right? I don't know how a company's going to be able to compete against that, you know? And another thing to mention, guys, right, is that I give UFL a little bit of a pass because they're a new game, but they're not a newly developed game. Very important to mention this, okay? I think I've seen somewhere, and I could be wrong, right? But I've seen somewhere that the game has been in development for like 6 years, I think, right? So to say that it is a new game in that sense, no, development-wise, it's been 6 years. And if this is an open beta and it ends up being transferred over to the full version of the game, in my honest opinion, it's just not a complete game. right? There's a lot of polishing that needs to be done in certain areas for the game to potentially be really good. It has, you could tell that it has certain variables that's impressive, but there's a lot of polishing that still needs to be done. So if that's what the close to full product ends up being, as I mentioned, right, I wouldn't even make videos on these games if this game was always consistently good. If these devs actually fixed the main issues in the game, I wouldn't even talk about these games, man, because I would just be enjoying myself, doing player reviews, always consistently doing different types of content, because it'd be so easy to do this content on a consistent basis. It really would. It would be so easy. Player reviews, especially, like, buy a player, try one at a time, and then it'd be great. But why do I complain every single year? Because they never do anything. A thing is a pro. We still deal with like, you go up against the goalkeeper. I forget what it is again, man. Where you go up against the goalkeeper and your player jumps over the goalkeeper and he loses possession of the ball. Or, you know, the guy can get an easy block because you have to jump over the goalkeeper and then shoot on an AI that's blocking the nets for him still to this day, right? That's what I'm saying. Like, it just frustrates me, because it's like, we're talking about a new game, but it's like, if EA or if FC would ever fix their actual issues in the game, and you were to take out all the garbage to promote better things like actual good attacking AI in the game, manual defense being rewarded. Like, guys, those situations where I have the cursor on the hedge, I've told you guys many times in the rant videos, if I took the cursor off of the guy's hedge, I may have been able to block out those opportunities. Do you guys get what I'm saying? If I took off the cursor, the AI would do a better job than me. And that's just idiotic. It's idiotic. Okay? So that's all there is really to say. There's a lot of polishing that needs to be done for UFL. If that's like they're close to full release, there's still a lot of work that needs to be done in certain areas. I like their direction with those 3 core mechanics that I've mentioned, of not fully with the R trigger thing yet, because there's still a little bit of adjustment that needs to be done there. But like, I like what their direction is with the manual tackling and the manual interceptions, right? I like that stuff, but we'll see what they do later on, right? Like I said, because this has been in development already for years, guys. So we'll see. We'll see what ends up happening on the full release of the game. But it's not a newly developed game. It's just a new game. So that's why they get a little bit of a pass for certain things. I'm not, because having millions test out your game is very different than having like your core team testing it out, having like a small group of people testing out the game instead of the millions, and then just getting all the feedback from that. You know what I'm saying? So is there potential? Do they have certain mechanics that, like, I wish I was streaming and I was literally saying, like, did they hire an L2 guy to do these tackles? Like, it was the biggest thing that I was talking about the entire stream. I was like, oh my god, the fact, like, it was just the specific animations they did that I was just so happy with. I'm like, look at how it's possession based and now I can transition forward, right? But the feel wise, guys, if my gameplay is decent on FC, it's clear of this game, man. If it's decent, right? The feel of it, the responsiveness of not responsiveness, excuse me. It's so hard to say responsiveness because of FC being trash, right? But the responsiveness of doing one-to-one commands with a roulette or a Burba spin, or like if it's decent, because I have to always say if, because this game is always different, right? If it's decent, it's clear. It just is, right? Like, it's hard to compare this to a beta as a brand new game. It's so stupid to even do that, because people are doing that on a consistent basis. But that's just what the situation is, okay? There's potential. I like the direction of certain things, but we'll see what ends up happening. I have to have more faith in other companies, because I have no faith in EA fixing the proper issues in their games. So that's where we're at as a football gaming community. So hopefully you guys enjoy this video. Sorry for all the yap sessions. I don't know. You guys like the yap sessions. You guys like it, you don't like it. It's one of the two, man. One of the two. But hopefully you guys enjoy this video today. I will catch you guys for the next one. Peace out, dudes. Love you guys.